Hi class, my name's Mary and I'm from Oxford, Michigan. I signed up for this class because I'm a youth services librarian assistant. Before I worked in the youth department at my library, I wasn't sure what path I wanted to take as a librarian, and in relation to the master's program, I felt a little bit lost, but it didn't take me long to realize that working in the youth department was more rewarding and more of a perfect fit for my personality than I originally had thought. And I love it so much, and I can't wait to apply what we learn in this class to real life in my job. When I was young, I liked to read the Magic Tree House series by Mary Pope Osborne, and I would say that those probably were the books that sparked my love of reading. I liked the Magic Tree House for a lot of different reasons. So one was that two of the main characters reminded me of my brother and I, so it was very relatable. And while we didn't go on magic adventures, we had big imaginations, and we had a close bond, like Jack and Annie, who are the main characters in the Magic Tree House series. The sibling team was really easy for me to identify with as a child, and it was a long series of short books that I could explore and feel a sense of accomplishment when knowing like how many I read and being able to show people like my parents or my friends like I read this many books from this series, and it made me feel very well accomplished. And I remember a lot of my friends reading them when I was in elementary school, so part of it was conformity and wanting to fit in with my classmates. I'm also have always been really interested in animals, so the fact that the books would often incorporate animals was an easy selling point for me. I remember my parents, my teachers, my school librarian were all really supportive of reading The Magic Tree House, and I remember those days very fondly. So in college, I was challenged while taking a class on Geoffrey Chaucer at Oakland University. As an English major, I noticed a lot of my fellow English major classmates would act a little sympathetic when I told them about it, but I didn't really know why yet, and in a way it kind of made me feel kind of cool because I was about to take this really hard class and read this super old book. Well, we read a selection of the original Canterbury Tales of Canterbury in Middle English, just a couple of them because it would take that long for us to get through them. That's all we read. It was a really small amount of reading, page-wise, less than any other English class I had ever taken in college and in high school. This was on the account that Middle English is very hard to read, and I made the grave mistake of thinking that my experience reading Shakespeare would help me somehow. If you didn't know, learn from my mistakes. Early modern English and Middle English are very, very different. I did not enjoy it. It took me a long time to really feel the rhythm and get used to pronouncing things differently and making sense of it all. And it was difficult to get through, but by the end I was able to read it out loud with the accent fairly well, and that helped a lot. And I did a lot of read-alongs with people reading in Middle English on YouTube so I could follow along and make sure that I was pronouncing things correctly. In this way, Geoffrey Chaucer definitely helped me to persevere. I think what motivated me to get through the Geoffrey Chaucer was the challenge and how I might be better praised in my English program for taking it and doing well in the class. Never did I stay up at night thinking, I wonder how the merchant story is going to end when I finish it tomorrow. So it was a really big contrast to reading The Magic Tree House as a kid, because for that it was for fun and I got a lot more satisfaction from it. And it was interesting to me how when I read Magic Tree House when I was a younger reader, and when I read the Tales of Canterbury for the first time, it makes you feel like a young reader for a bit, so you can relate them together in that way. One thing I do notice at the library department that I work at with the series like the Magic Tree House is that sometimes the parents are under the assumption that reading a series book over and over or reading more in that series is not going to help their child. Another assumption is that reading the chapter books like the Magic Tree House is better than reading the graphic novels. I find that both assumptions are primarily untrue. I believe that as long as they have an interest in reading and they're reading a large quantity of books that they're enjoying and getting the practice that they need before they feel ready to move on, I don't see the harm in it at all. It seems to me that the parents and the adults' reading culture values are being pushed onto the younger ones a little bit in the sense that they want them to read more sophisticated books, in their opinion, as soon as possible. And that is the case, I think, for most situations when they prefer them read chapter books and keep on reading new and different genres and more complicated books than just reading the same books over and over, or the graphic novels, for example. And I think that it won't work very well when you tell someone that, I don't think you should read this book that you're super interested in, and it's just not going to be for the child's advantage because nobody wants to read something that it doesn't interest them. It's not going to help them improve, and it's not going to spark more interest for reading more books.